Okay, so right now I've got more arrows going and I'm about to tie on the whipping knot to bind the feathers here. So I thought I would get a little video of this. There's already one on my Instagram lower down from about a month ago, but you can go ahead and watch this one here on my YouTube since I lost that when I shot my phone with an arrow. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pinching a little bit of this. I'm using the same material I used for my bow handle on my longbow that I made. It's just like some leather waxy stitching material. I usually use this artificial sinew, but I like the black with this fletching. So you bend that up and then you just go around the shaft. Oh, don't let it slip out from your finger. Bend it up, go around the shaft. I like to pull it pretty tight, but gotta be careful not to let that slip at first. So you want to hold that there while you're pulling it. And then after a while, it'll just be tight enough under the wraps you've done. So you can just let go and keep twisting. And you'll twist the tips of these feathers, or you'll twist this string around whatever material you're using around the tips of the feathers until you cover that. So the less length you can use to fold up, probably the better, because you don't need to waste all of the front of your feather, just a little bit to really lock it down in case you're shooting through brush or going through your target. Give it a little more security even after you've glued it on nice. Okay, so now we're here and I just pull it up a little bit. I push it kind of sideways and then down. And I try to just keep it about the same distance, just climbing up the shaft a little bit, but about the same spacing. If you want to do a little tighter spacing, that's fine. If you want to do a little bit less spacing, you trust your glue, that's fine. But this is about the spacing I do. Sometimes, you know, give or take a little bit. So I'll just continue doing this, and I'm pulling it kind of tight because I do want to put some support here, provide some support on these feathers. So I just push it kind of sideways and then down a little bit, find the groove without bending any of the feather too horribly. And then once you get to the end, oh, got one tangled there. Once you get to the end, stop, because it gets messy if you try to do it with just a little bit of feather. Find like that, you can see it's kind of torquing it a little bit, so I'm going to back it up, go through that one about here. I don't like that. Yeah, so let's see. I just hate to leave so much unbound, but I hate to twist it and bend this little piece, but we'll be okay with that much bend. If you take a little pressure off this actually, and just kind of fit it in there, let it catch, and then give a little more pressure again, it won't bend it. So now I'm twisting it around the base here, this V, and once I've gone around once or twice, I'm going to take the remaining bit of my material here, and you're just going to go up this way, okay, and you're going to go around the arrow shaft, and you're going to pull it through. Probably have a little more than I need, but it's better to have more than less. Then you got to tie on an extra bit of string. So you've pulled it through, and you keep going. You just wrap it around that same manner Just pulling it through. Here you go. Try to keep it in place. And you can just kind of pile it on itself, stack it on itself up by the nock, keep it out of the way. This, what you're doing here, this amount of material that you're piling up here by the nock is going to become like the spool, like for the thread, the kind of like serving spool, so that you can wrap up the rest of your shaft. Tried to hit a notification. Yeah. And then you just keep going. Keep going. You can see I'm just piling this up here. And then we're going to use it to reinforce the end bit up to the nock, tie down the back of the feathers, reinforce the nock, and then you'll be able to pull this knot through itself because you'll lay a piece of thread down the shaft that you're going to wrap it over. Okay, so that's good. So what I'm talking about, you're going to take this piece of thread or material and you're going to lay it down. And you're going to wrap from here, from where you were back at the end of the feather, over that thread, and continue doing this all the way till the end of the nock. And now this bit here will just serve the material to me as we go. And I'm gonna make sure I'm keeping this tight. It's a little more, it's a little easier with the sinew because it's wider, so you can kind of overlap. This stuff you have to lay it right next to the thread you just put down and just kind of scrunch it together as best you can. So we'll just keep going around. I like to pull this bit off here because it gets in the way. And now what you can do is just keep the bit you're wrapping around just up, like with the shaft, and then just keep wrapping around it and just let it hang over to your right. Or if you're left-handed and you're doing this on the opposite side, whatever. But just let it hang off the end of the shaft and just keep going around it like that. No problem. Except I'm tying my knee into it. So you just have to pause, make sure it's straight, keep those tight, so it looks nice, so nice. And we're almost there. And I'm pulling it pretty tight so that we can keep those feathers on, and especially as we get higher up, so that we can reinforce this wood where our nock is, so it can sustain the force of my 55-pound bow or whatever you're shooting. Yeah, so these arrows have been tested up to 55 pounds with no problem. To be honest, the spine probably seems even a little bit still stiff, so they could probably be shot by a stronger bow even. I wouldn't let that stop you from shooting a 35-pound bow with it either, though. These are just fun, attractive arrows to have in your quiver and to watch fly. covering the ends. Now I get picky, so I don't like that you can see any gap, so I will scrunch that all together as best I can get it before I continue up and finish it. I'm just scrunching it all together. Okay, so then you find your piece that you're wrapping around, find the working end, continue. Okay, now this is when it gets tricky. I just kind of keep it up, get some more fingers involved, keep twisting it as high as I can get it, because as soon as you pull this piece through, which, what in the frick? It's getting stuck down here. Once you pull this piece through, it will tug some of this tight, and it might slip just ever so slightly down. So compensate for that and wrap it up just another layer or two. Now we're getting where I want it. I used pretty much just the right amount. I cut off about my wingspan, 3/4 of my wingspan length. It's not very scientific, but it works for me. Again, if you wanted more binding or less, that'll affect it. You just got to play around with it. So now we're at the end here. We're going to take this. I can maybe go around one more time. Now we're just going to pull it through. Sometimes I try to squeeze one more in there, but see that? How you just pull it through, pull it tight. It's right up in our nock. This is nice and reinforced now. I'm confident in that. I am just going to take a pair of snips here and tackle this right where it comes out. And since it's been pulled through and wrapped over so many times by this waxy material, it's not gonna go anywhere. So, bam, there it is. Put that on the rack with the rest of the inventory. So you got 2 with the black wrap. That's going to be the 3rd one up. And these just have the glue on, 125 grain. And then we got 6 of these 5-inch. These are all 5-inch right here, except for the ones towards the end here. These 3 with the different tip are 4-inch, but a little bit of variety to the shop now. Got one more to bind, and then I'm doing my personal arrows here so I can fill up my own quiver when I'm shooting. But that's it. Thank you very much. Sorry for the disgusting mess. I just sprung a leak that I got to get fixed, but that's for another time. Thank you all, and goodbye.